Maybe.
Good morning and welcome back to Collision Hub World's Fair. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Friday!
Yes. It's been a long week.
It's the last day. We've done 87 shows and we got 36
You know, you
more
guys
to
get to go on a plane and go home today.
Yes, we do.
I still have to teach 2 classes tomorrow for ASA.
And who signed up for that?
Yeah.
I know, yeah. I got to remember to pay attention when they say, do you want to do an event in May? And I go, sure. And then like I find out after I've committed May 1st. Oh, that's the week after. That's the Saturday
day
After.
Yeah.
So where are you going to be? Why don't you tell where
yeah,
you're
so
representing
it's the ASA. Yeah, like ASA 50, like a 50th anniversary conference, big conference. I think it actually is kicking off right now. And I'm just going to be late to the party tomorrow. But it's got a collision side and a mechanical side. And obviously, I'm going to be presenting in the mechanical side. No, I'm just kidding. So
she can't change a flat. So
two classes on the collision side. One's going to be on how collision repair shops should use the phone, which is also how you should not use the phone, right? And then I'm going to talk about total losses for a couple hours tomorrow too, like how to handle total loss claims. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, I've been using a phone for what, 40 years?
Doing it wrong.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Totally. I don't even have to listen to you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you've talked to me on the phone.
You're the target audience.
yes.
I got a freebie link for you to.
Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be watching from the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, I'll be here.
Yeah.
That's not
So
bad.
this morning we're going to talk about
back to this.
Right, back to our day job now, right?
This
morning we're going
to
talk about Hyundai collision repair information. Now, Hyundai has had service information available in the U.S. and the North American market for quite a while, but it wasn't until last summer that Hyundai released their body repair manual. So it's been available in other parts of the world, but the North American market has been excluded historically. But through the efforts of quite a few people, they finally released that last summer. And Collision Hub has done a number of OE information website shows, but we never did a Hyundai one because there wasn't a Hyundai one
this
to be done.
completes the series.
Yeah,
This is it.
completes me.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the last of the OE. So it was Repair University OEM edition. It was kind of a separate series that we ran for a while, and BASF was a sponsor of that and helped put all that information out there. So, but yeah, last class finally we have official Hyundai information.
That's
Complete
awesome.
library.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, and we couldn't do it before because it wasn't available.
Well, yeah, it would have been a real short show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Welcome to the Hyundai show. There's none. Okay, thanks.
Right, thanks. See you guys later.
So the first thing that I think I want to start with, one thing I like about Hyundai, and again, this is the service information has always been like this, but one thing that I like about it is, like a lot of websites, like a lot of the OA websites, you can buy like a day pass. Like that's great for like me when I'm like researching something and putting together a program. But if I'm doing a collision repair, there's not a lot of one-day turnarounds. So the Hyundai offers a 1 week, which I think is it's a sweet spot, I think, from a collision repair information standpoint. You can get a week, a month, or a year. The week, I think, is around $40 for a week worth
Well,
of
you can
access.
still do a day, though.
You can still do a day.
A day, a week, or a month. And a lot of the other ones are, 1 day or 3 days, and then you have to go to a month.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's not that week in there, which is nice.
Yeah, some variables, but I really like that 1 week feature. It just seems like kind of a sweet spot. So we thought we'd kind of run you through like a number of different things on the Hyundai website, but we're the focus certainly on the collision repair aspect of it. But so let's start with so we've already logged in to the Hyundai. It's HyundaiTechInfo.com is
Now,
where you go.
a quick shout out.
Yep.
So since we didn't take you through going and how to sign up and how to get here and how to pay and do all of that, there is a resource for that available where you can learn how to actually get logged on, right?
From RTS?
From RTS.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So rts.icar.com and click on the OEM information.
I thought it was a good pitch.
Hyundai, and then we mentioned there's a lot of people that were responsible for getting the Hyundai collision repair information. Scott and the RTS team were a huge driver of that,
Right.
So we should certainly give Scott some props and give the RTS team props for making that happen.
You're welcome, Scott.
You're welcome,
He
Scott.
forgot
Way to
about
go.
you. Just saying.
He's blushing right now. Right?
It was just
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not picking him for my team next year.
So to keep going with that, the Hyundai RTS information's got a video on where to click, how to log in, how to access subscription.
Because sometimes that's confusing. And then also sometimes a certain browser is required, like it's got to be Explorer 95 or Chrome or whatever. And so a lot of people will voice on Pick a Tech when they text us, they're having problems getting into, insert name of OE, and it ends up being a browser problem, something that, something
need
simple.
JavaScript. installed, or
Yeah.
flash in some
Yeah,
cases.
which is like no longer supported. so
Yeah,
that's a challenge, right?
because it's an older. Or you have two new of actually one computer at one shop I was at. We had to actually downgrade. I had to find online someplace a link to downgrade from like I don't know Internet Explorer 10
That's
to
the-
like 5.
That's the flash workaround right there. Is the other.
So everybody always laughs when they come into my office because sitting on my on the desk behind me is my Toshiba Satellite Pro laptop, and it literally is this thick. It's the first laptop State Farm ever issued, and remember the bouncing.
So you stole it.
No, when we got done with them, nobody wanted them. They were like, "Please take these home."
weighs like
right?
43 pounds.
Right, they're huge, but it's like this thick, and it still has the bouncing paperclip on it. And if it'll boot up and power, and still has all my estimating systems on it as they were the day we stopped
It's the
using
nuclear
it.
football
So
is what it
what I'm
really
saying
is.
is sometimes I have to open it and use it. No, there's that.
And the problem is that any one of these other, web browsers will support a portion of it. So you'll get into it, and it gets frustrating because you get to a certain point, it keeps bouncing you out, and you can't. It just won't work because it'll get you enough in there to make you think it's working, and there's something wrong with your computer.
And then you
don't
assume it's
really-
you. Right?
Yeah, then you think it's you, right? Exactly.
Unfortunately,
question-
unfortunately
That
for
question
Hyundai,
is for you.
and
even
unfortunately
read
for Hyundai, the nice part is that they use all the mainstream ones. So whatever you have, you probably will work with Hyundai.
Yeah, we're in Chrome right
What
now.
the-
So.
Oh my God!
Oh, geez.
Really, Jake? I'm not answering it. I refuse to.
Jake is heckling Larry during the show today. So, but we will answer. Jake does have the first part of his heckle is actually a legitimate question.
Yes, it is.
So
I mean, look.
Is it appropriate?
Instead
you
of
have to
Jake
share
it's
working,
not. I mean, if it was appropriate, I'd share it. No, I'm just kidding.
well, it's already online, so everyone can read it. It's not
Yeah.
like we're reading it. It's like, oh, don't post this.
Yeah.
Holly, delete that message, please, from Jake.
Oh.
All right.
He's just
it's
stirring the pot. He's sitting
definitely-
there like this.
It's definitely
I'm gonna
Friday
stir a
morning.
pot.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where were we?
Okay.
Oh, Jake.
Jake.
Okay.
Don't you have something else to
Okay,
do today?
there's a video on the RTS portal about how to get here, how to
There you
pay, and
go.
how to use it, and then it'll also help you make sure you have the right browser. Okay.
There you go.
Here we go.
And then
And then there's also a link to this.
I
website
summarized
from
we
there.
didn't
There
need
is.
you.
And one more
Thanks.
thing on the Hyundai, on the RTS website, there's also a you can like print a PDF of how to get there. So that's something I like. Is like the first time hey, let's have a video and we can walk through there. It's great until you're trying to watch the video and log in simultaneously.
Right, yeah.
So they put together a little PDF that you can just print it off, put in a file. So if you don't need, which OE website am I going to? Open your little folder that you had the other day and pull out your Hyundai and say, okay, here's my process. So, anyways, all right. So. A few things. We don't want to spend a lot of time on the stuff up here. There's a little bit on some technical training, diagnostic tools, tool and equipment. The technical training, there's really not a lot of technical training there. The one thing that's kind of relevant to collision repair would be, well, in theory. Okay, that's going great. There is a matte finish document in there for the Valester. Diagnostic tools, that's where we get our, there it is, publications. Oh, downloads. Yeah, there's a little matte finish maintenance guide
cool.
on here for the Valester. That's really the only thing that we went through here and saw that really is kind of a collision repair training piece of it. So not a lot of those vehicles out there, and fewer of them obviously with a matte finish on it.
And one thing to watch out for is that when you look down and you go, oh man, I need the shop manual. So you click that, and there's like 9,000 pages. So if you click print,
Yeah, be real careful.
be
with that.
careful.
Print the PDF.
There's some diagnostic tool information, so GDS mobile information, upgrades, J2534 links. So again,
Can I just say
Yeah.
how depressing the view count is?
Yeah, very depressing, isn't it?
Isn't it?
400.
I probably shouldn't have mentioned, but I'm just looking at that going, huh.
Well, these are the cars that were just produced last week.
yeah.
That they have the very few views.
All right, so what we really want to talk about though today is in the body section, right? I mean this is what's new is
Team
that
body
body tab didn't exist in the past. So under body, so we're gonna pull up a 2019 Santa Fe, pretty popular vehicle. There's a few of those on the road, right? So all listed out by year. So you can see they don't have a ton of manuals right now. Now.
Right.
We've been told, again, through Scott, through RTS team, that they will continue to add more as they're available, but they launched with these in July. We haven't seen an update yet, so But I know that he's certainly working diligently, especially after my call this morning. Hopefully he's right back on that today. Like, let's get the rest of these manuals out there. But
Put that to the top of the stack.
they're in their review, in the legal review process to make sure they can be released. And that was the whole issue for them not releasing in the beginning, was around some legal issues. But obviously we've got some popular vehicles here
it's
now.
kind of, for if you're watching and you're a U.S.-based collision shop, our laws and litigation is way different than anywhere else in the world.
Very
and
difficult,
so,
yeah.
so there's a lot of OEs that will do things in other countries long and well before they'll do them here. And so, I don't blame them for taking their time.
Yeah.
We're glad we have them, because before we were just totaling the cars.
Yeah.
Anything structural, if anything had to be welded, that was it. The car was a total loss.
Yeah.
So I'll take anything they'll give me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing that I personally like, so if any other OEs are listening, that's how you want to design your website to make me happy, is I really like the tree kind of approach.
All about making Jason
It's
happy.
like the tree approach that Hyundai has, where again, I don't get lost. Like, I don't have like the breadcrumbs like how to get back. I have troubles with that from time to time, and I get lost in my place. But here I've got my menu on the side the whole time, and I kind of know where I am. I'm comfortable. I'm looking at my navigation system. I know on my map where I'm at. So.
Wait, so did the OEs finally solve the problem of getting men to look at a map?
It just needs to be a tree. There you
Maybe.
go.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You know, it's almost
think
set
about
up
that
like
for a
I know, maybe.
when you open your PDFs, you know, like on your computer, and then you can have the glossary or the index on one side when you kind of, you know, play around with the buttons up there. So now, if I'm reading a document, I want to go back to something, I can see
Yeah, it's easy
that
to
whole
get there.
entire line. I got my whole glossary right there. I don't have to go back. Oh, I got to go all the way back to page 5,
Yeah.
and I'm on page 300, and where was I? And you can just click away to the sections.
And to be fair, in our defense too, we've always looked at maps, Kristen. It's just that we don't ask for directions. When the map,
Right.
when the map
Get it right.
confuses us, that's when the problem starts. But we eventually figured out. Look, we're all here today, right? We made it. So wherever we got lost at some point, we eventually found our way.
Actually, you know
So-
how I found it? Was I took Uber. And they followed a map.
Right.
They followed.
Right.
I wasn't responsible for getting here.
Uber OEM procedures. What?
So I've opened up our 2019 manual here, and let's just take a look under general information, see what kind of general information they have. So this is something that we talked about throughout the week. Is it's not always about just looking at the repair procedure. There's other areas that have pertinent information I need to go and research and find. So
It's
again,
one of the, and so to stop here and while we're talking about
Yeah.
it, and it's one of the things that comes in on Pick a Tech when we're working with shops. The OEs see everything as a system, right? So the manual to fix this Santa Fe is a system. And there are things when you're in the quarter panel that you should know, right? You should, when we talked about welding earlier, you should know what the different welding symbols mean. You should know all that, and that's in a different part of the manual, right? It doesn't always mean they're going to link them there where you just get to hit little hot links and, oh, look, your life is solved. This is what makes what we call integrated repair procedures so hard to do, is that oftentimes the small things that are critical to a proper and safe repair aren't with that. If you're only looking up a procedure for when you're going to put on a welded component, so say it's quarter panel, a body, a rail, or whatever, and you're pulling that procedure for that, you could be missing a lot of things that are in other areas of the manual. So it's real important that your research is holistic around everything you do. So it's part of Tuesday or Monday's class too, when talking about estimating is not about the physical damage anymore.
And that's one of the problems that we get with the estimating systems. Is, you know, you put down for a quarter panel and they go, oh, here's the OEM information for that.
Right.
And you know, and you click that, but that's all they give you.
And they think they're helping because we asked for, you know, and I don't want to say we,
Yeah.
because I want, and we'll talk later on today too about how I feel about automation and some of these things.
Yep.
Some things should be manually gone and looked for. If you're constantly only using what is served up to you, it doesn't mean, like if I just went into a restaurant and the waitress just brings me whatever she decides I should have that day or whatever's the special, how many other things on the menu am I missing? And we want so desperately for this to be served to us because we're tired, because we're wearing too many hats, because we're spending, it's hard to be a body shop owner or manager or an estimator these days, but we miss a lot. And this is a great example of general information and everything. This is a great negotiation tool where you know where your sensors are.
That's where I want to pull this one up, because again, this is something that's we've been talking about it quite a bit. We looked at a door repair the other day, and we talked about. Is that paraphrasing, Larry?
With the,
That's paraphrasing.
hey, you remember the last time we had the laser discussion? Wasn't it a Hyundai?
It was?
Yeah,
It was?
it was.
But it was my thesaurus. Come here, boy. Come here. Come on.
But this is a question that other people are asking, like, hey, what type of sensor does it have? A pressure sensor or an oxide have a repair? Well, here's an example. So we're looking at this Hyundai Santa Fe, and I know it doesn't. We got some. We don't have a lot of real estate on the screen here, but you can see that there's 2 gravity side impact sensors, so a conventional like impact
Right.
sensors, and then there's a pressure sensor, side impact sensor in the door area. So again. They've
Well, you know,
got
it's
3
funny.
airbag sensors on this side of this
I don't know
vehicle.
if we went through, if we're going to go through this or not, but is this in the airbag section? Because remember, we're in general.
Right.
And a lot of different companies, and this is why it's so important to read like the general information. We had a few things about the car, and then they went right into airbag stuff. Maybe in the airbag section they don't have locations. They don't have. Oh well, they don't produce it. Just like we were talking the other day with one of the manufacturers that. The rim repair or not repairing rims is in the refinish section. This is why it's so important to like familiarize yourself with how they lay stuff out in these programs. And yes, is it a pressure sensor or not? It may just be a sensor in the airbag thing about changing it in the airbag section or electronics, but it doesn't tell you what kind of sensor it is. And that's in the general information that could drive you, crazy sometimes until you learn that OEM. But I'll bet you for all the Hyundais, their general is going to be somewhat laid out like this. Toyota will be different, or Benz will be different, but at least in the same manufacturer, you'll keep some of the same similarities.
You know something that Jake said the other day in the other show? He said something that was just, if everybody took on what Jake said as advice, he basically said, I approach this car and I know nothing.
Right.
If you approach every car that you look at and you know nothing, then you have to look up everything and you're going to catch this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think that was Nick. I just want to make sure you
Was
give
it Nick?
give Nick his proper credit here.
so
Give Nick his
Nick-
due. I want to make sure that we don't want to leave Nick out there.
Where's
So,
Nick, Jake?
well, Jake gets
Same
all
difference,
Jake gets
right?
all the credit. all
No,
the
there's
time.
like
Oh,
4 feet of
4
difference.
difference, yeah.
He chirps up. Now he can't hear. He can't defend himself. It's good. It's perfect. So,
Shots fired. Shots
From
fired
now
over
on,
the,
every time Nick is on the show, he has to sit.
there you go.
and he'll still be
Looking
taller
down
than
at
us.
Yeah.
And he'll still be taller than me.
So let's move to the next
Oh, look at that.
section.
How
Body
about some
construction.
cautions?
No, I look at
Oh, we don't have
how
cautions
wide
first?
your adhesive beads have to be, how thick they have to be. I mean, that's amazing.
Now, see, this stuff here is important in this general because if you're in the repair procedure, they just tell you what type of material to use, or what's my height, width of my tube, or how am I supposed to cut it in a V? What gun do I use? And it's in general information. Is he crying?
Or as we learned Monday, you can't lick it on.
Yes. Is
So-
Jake crying?
Well, no,
Jake's very
I
upset.
think the point that Larry's making, I think, is an important one, right? Because you'll see that all the time. Apply adhesive. Well, it'll say, well, how do I do it? Where do I do it?
Because we beat into their head so much that we need to know how wide, how
Right.
tall, and it's like it doesn't say it, so is it a guess? And then you get the tube, the connector, and it's got like a whole bunch of little plastic things that are at different sizes, and you're like, I'm supposed to cut it, and then we get a Pick-a-Tech question.
Yep.
We have to, once we figure it out, we'll make a little notation on certain cars and say, oh no, that's in this area, and it becomes second nature, but the first time you do it, I don't know where this information is.
So the interesting thing here to think about is that if there is no procedure, then every OE says default to the procedures of the manufacturer of the adhesive or seam sealer or whatever. But then if there is a procedure, I have to apply it. Now, if I'm an estimator, this is important information for me as a technician right now that we're looking at, but it's telling me how wide of an area I have to have it on the flanges, right? So now I'm going to have my adaptation panel, where I'm going to have my replacement panel. I can't just take my file belt grinder and clean off just the area I want to clean off. I've got to make sure I'm within that space. There's all these things I got to do, and that adds up for time. It's 0.1 here and 0.1 there that makes a difference, and that's part of Jake's first question is, should shops be compensated for accessing, so either the fees to get to this, and then the time to do it? Absolutely, and all 3 estimating systems have said this is a non-included operation.
Well, just scroll back up just a pinch there. Look at the temperatures differences just for the adhesive and what goes on. I recently was doing at a shop and we were doing a roof on a Benz, and it's a structural adhesive holding the roof panel on. And the way they make you cut it is you got to cut it all the way at the top of the tip, but it's like a adhesive bonding tip, not a windshield urethane tip. So the suggestion came from Benz is put a plastic hose over it or glue the, secure the regular adhesive one on there so you can cut it at a certain height and cut the V in there.
Is it a
So
European hose or just?
Yeah, you had to kind of adapt it, but the problem was it was a 15-minute work time.
Yeah.
You know, that's a problem. So you got to
Yeah.
plan out sometimes. You might need 2 or 3 people to help you hang this. You know, and this is where these notes come in handy as you write them as an estimator, let's say, to make notations of certain things to say, hey, look, we got to look at this later when we get to the repair section. I have it in the estimating, you know, area that I made a notation for this, that extra additional people might be needed because of the work time of the glue, the adhesive, and our temperatures that we have in this particular geographical area.
So I just want to know something real
Yeah.
fast. Okay, so what work environment would you be using this at 90 degrees
I was
Celsius?
wondering the same thing. Like, you know what?
Mars. Look, we've already made a trip, Mark.
Although
That was like how hot it was in here yesterday.
was
But
pretty
we're not
hot.
fixing cars today.
last July when I was down
Yeah.
here
I know,
shooting this
okay.
video, oh my God, I
That's
think
what-
it was
I mean,
about 90
what is that, about
C.
180 degrees?
Well, it's 108 plus 210 it's
Yeah, okay,
more.
it's-
It's over 200. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's I'd like my double
It's
in
not
that.
quite boiling water, but close.
Yeah.
Okay.
And getting back to some of the welding we did yesterday, you see here where they're talking about welding on the car, and both high strength and mild steel can be welded. And the recommendation is the shielding gas is 75/25, but it's telling you here, look, the recommended welding wire is 023,
Yep.
which is what you should be using on unibodies that we talked about yesterday when everyone's trying to stay in the middle and like use 030,
Yep.
and they're having difficulties making their welds proper because you're trying to weld with too hot of a machine, too thick of a wire on too thin of a material.
Yep.
Make it easier on yourself, do the smarter thing, and follow it. And here's goes a good picture for you with what you talked about yesterday
Yep.
with the plug welds.
Yeah. So again, now we know that when we're doing plug welds on Hyundai vehicles, we're going to be using 75/25, 023, 024, ER7S6, and making 8mm plug welds. That
Yeah.
we now know that is the OEM recommendation, that when it calls for plug weld, and there may be some variances that they may call for something
And
different
they're
in a different
suggesting
location.
starting at the outside, working your way in.
They are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is not what you said yesterday.
Well,
Well, your preference, right?
That's my preference.
But they're
yeah,
actually
yeah.
saying to do it the specific way.
Yeah. Yeah, weld around the edge first, working towards the center. Again, and remember that was on the 6mm where I started in the center,
Right.
squeeze the trigger, and then kind of
Right,
work
but
my
this
way
is
out.
8.
But the 8,
Right.
I like to start. So again, you would
yeah.
think 2mm make that, but again, that surface
does.
area is a lot
Size,
different.
yeah.
size matters.
If you know
Size
about
matters.
pi.
That's if you know about pi,
Really?
and we know about pi.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, it was, yeah.
All right, so hey, there's your tram gauge, Kristen.
Well, in this case, yes, I agree with certain measurements up on top. You might have to
Right.
use a tram gauge with
No,
certain things, but
There's a-
I mean,
there's
I
a use
literally
for
don't
it.
understand why you have a requirement that says that a or shop must have 3-dimensional measuring equipment to be on a program, but a car can take a $10,000 hit and tram gauge measurement.
well, no. In
is
some
appropriate.
cases, certain areas you can't measure,
In the
so you
openings.
just take. They're giving you a couple of measurements to double
Someone
check it.
reviewed that and approved it.
I got it.
I will
right.
argue on certain things, but yes, in some cases, yeah, you might need a tram gauge for a quick check.
Okay,
Like
so
when
now we.
Ford would say,
So-
put tape
Hey,
on the floor.
I
measure
want
between
that
the
line
tape.
under adjusting new part. Like, let's hope we get there because that's a great line on an estimate.
Yeah.
When installing a new part, you got to measure.
Yes.
Yep. So now we saw that it had an 8mm plug weld just above, but now here we've got some variances. So because, again, depending on the metal thickness, they've got some different size recommendations. So if we're below, what do we got here? Thickness of welded portion below 1mm of 1.6, above 2.4, we're going to have different plug weld sizes. So again, we need to know what thickness of material am I welding on, and we're saying that is that one thickness or two thickness? If I'm welding panel A to panel B, do I need a total metal thickness, or what's the governing metal thickness? So we need a little bit of clarification on which one we'll be working on for that. All right, so the other thing that they've got in here is they've actually got some pitch recommendations for how far apart they want welds. I believe they might have some edge recommendations as well for how close they want it to the edge.
So let's go.
Scroll back up
if
for
I-
one quick second. Look, they're requiring 30% more spot welds.
No, Larry. I just have to, because this was one of the things that was really interesting before we had repair procedures, and that was what ICAR and I think, even the Assured Performance team who manages their certification program was saying, is you had shops then defaulting going, we'll put it back in like the OE.
Yeah.
But and then in the repair procedures, they don't want it back in like it was made
OE.
at the factory, right? You got to do something different because we don't have $10 million laser welders. So the way that they assemble the cars at the factory. So I love it when I see this when somebody tells me, well, you can put it back like they do at the factory. No, that's not what I'm trying
Well,
to
you
do.
look here. It says if you have a spot welder, okay, or you're doing the spot welding, it's increased the number by 30%. So you got to do a little bit of math. But if you're plug welding,
Same.
It's the same and same location. With spot welds, it's a different location, but then you also have to figure out how to add 30% more. So that requires you to count all the spot welds or all the drill holes you made to get the panel off, and then add 30% to that.
Yep.
You know, instead of a smart welder, can we get a smart drill that like counts for you?
Well, and then has a Bluetooth connection to the welder.
Correct.
There we go.
I like it.
Does the math for
the
you?
math for
Knows
you.
how many welds you have to put in before you can quit.
And there's somebody out there right now doing that, making it, and we're not going to make a dollar.
They're writing that down. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this is not a universal thing. Now, this is kind of a Asia Pacific kind of OEM recommendation for the 30%. I believe Hyundai still has a 30% recommend, or Nissan has
Yes,
a 30%
Jason, Hyundai has a 30% recommendation.
and Nissan has one too. But so again, we're
Right.
following the OEM requirements for this. So we want to make sure that we're referencing this, make sure that we're doing the right thing on here. So
That's a general guideline, not for every car.
Yep.
Look up every car every time.
here's some destructive testing. We talked about destructive testing. So again, OE requirements for making spot welds. They want a minimum tip diameter of 3 millimeters. Again, we talked about the mushrooming tip, so if it gets bigger, the amperage addition requirements. So again, we've got an OEM kind of supporting what we talked about quite a bit yesterday. So
Which supports those lines on the estimate when you're, here's why I'm charging for this and, you know, demanding payment for this.
corrosion protection, again, always saying put the corrosion protection in, what to do on it. So some great information just in the general. That's just all that was just in the general stuff, and you can see there's still some more information here. So, but let's move on, right? Let's go to body construction, because that's another area that we get a lot of questions on, especially when it comes to different welding procedures, especially with some OEs that have a whole alphabet soup of different types of materials on it, and they may have different welding requirements. Hyundai's kind of got it broken down a little bit more simple: mild, high, and ultra high strength steel. They're not getting into the finite details of exactly what am I dealing with. But again, they're telling us where the high and ultra high strength steel is. That's going to affect my repair plan. That's going to affect the way I walk up to the vehicle and analyze where I think that collision energy management went through. So knowing the material strength is really a key, I think, to developing a solid repair plan and putting it together and building what exactly am I going to be doing on this vehicle. And Hyundai's obviously done a great job of identifying where those different materials are on the vehicle.
And that falls back into the other shows that we did this week, which is it's ultra high strength steel. When we do our weld test, we have to do it with ultra high strength steel. And also, if parts come in and you're cutting them off cars or that kind of thing, this helps you identify, so you've got your welding pieces for later of what it was.
Yeah. Good rule of map here for estimators to think about, and the reason I like to bring them. One, I like load path diagrams. I talk about them all the time. But
yes, you
but
do.
Anything in the D-ring should automatically send you in, I don't want to say panic mode as an estimator, but should really send you into deep dive research mode. And that's going to be anything hit in one of the left or right doors, front doors, 'cause that's in the D-ring area. So you can't just say, I just think I have damage to the door, because we're talking hinges, we're talking strikers. But that D-ring is pretty much universal for every manufacturer.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of mild steel happening on those side apertures anymore.
And it's something
other
for
than the
them-
outers.
And it's something for them to think about when you have a door that's misaligned from a laterally applied impact. And is it really the door and the hinges that are all messed up? Or do I have deformities around the outer panel where the hinge is attached? Like, oh, we can pull that and fix that. The outer panel you can. The problem is they attach through the outer panel to this ultra high strength or martensite steel, and this is where they get that misconception of that we can pull the striker or pull the panels, and in essence, no, you're just going to chop and change the stuff. There's really no pull for that. You just cut it off, because what you're going to do is you might pull the panel from the inner panel. That's probably, in this case, you can see it's all blue. It's a lower grade steel than the red. So the red's going to pull away from that blue, and you're going to damage a part that you never intended to damage.
Yeah.
I see that a lot when people
Red's
think
not
they
going to
can.
pull easy.
Well, the amount of estimates that I see on audits where we're making structural pulls to most of the time a center pillar. It's just like, you can't do that. Oh yeah, I did.
They
No,
got
one
like
of the
2
things
hours
you-
set up, and they got like 8
No.
hours pull. No, you need to switch that.
no, even
and
it's
do
like
away with the 2 hours.
no. Most of the ones I'm seeing are 1 and 1, and I guarantee you, all it was just to get the door to fit better. Right.
Well-
So, but I don't think people truly understand what that D-ring is and why you can't pull it. So that's why I always show estimators these diagrams, and why I tell them to look at them in their research, because this is anything that's that color is a hot point. That's a red flag. Ooh, I got more research to do. That's all it is.
And one of the things years ago, they were talking about the D-ring being where the seatbelt's mounted. Well, the D-ring's the seatbelt mount. But the D-ring actually is the A pillar, the B pillar, the rocker panel, and the roof rail.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, it looks like a D.
Yeah, there's multiple Ds. Yep. All right. So that's the good stuff there. Okay, so they also do have some body dimensions. So again, if we are looking to make some point-to-point measurements,
We're using tram gauge there.
yeah. So well,
I don't want to get trained either. I don't have a problem with them for certain spot checks in the repair by a trained technician. You actually have to have a lot of knowledge to use tram gauges correctly.
yeah, sure.
Yes.
Right? So I don't mind them, but when I have a vehicle come in with a $10,000 front end hit, I don't expect tram gauge measurement 1 hour.
Well, I'll give you an example here. The good point that they have with this is, like, let's say the windshield opening and that roof rail opening that most manufacturers of measuring equipment aren't really going to have measurements for that. Like Select doesn't make a jig to go up there. Nige, you could probably get some point-to-point, just comparative measurements, so it's still like a really fancy tram gauge in a way, but you can use the electronic measuring for it, like a few other companies out there. So some of these things can be quick measurements to say, hey, I got to put it on the frame machine. I don't have a measuring system in my blueprint area, but I can show just with a tram gauge real quick, it does have structural misalignment. So at least I do have these measurements to do it quickly.
Damage identification standpoint, but
Yeah.
you're missing the height.
But you're not repairing a car like this.
Right.
This is all for
Right.
diagnostic stuff.
Right. Yeah.
In my opinion.
A great tool for that. And they do, like I said, they've done a great job of really giving us a lot of measurements here and telling us exactly where to measure and how to identify those cross checks.
But nice, cool color photos.
I like that
Those
too.
are those are computer generated
I know,
graphics.
but they're still color photos.
They're
Probably so much
amazing.
easier than somebody sitting there hand drawing them like they used to do years ago.
And then for our friend that posted that we talked about on Wednesday night, they've got door gap information too. So if anyone's looking for gap information, Hyundai has it in their manual. So good stuff there too. All right.
Some cross sections is good too. You can see
And
what kind of
based
parts
on
are
the
in
cars we're re-inspecting, no one is looking at gaps.
No.
there. No, yeah, it's by eye, and you guys need glasses.
Well, their standard response is, it's a production car and nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, there's still tolerances.
All right. So let's dive into the actual collision repair parts in here now. So we're in our body repair procedure. So one thing that Hyundai I think has done a great job of, they've given us good diagrams with keys on what exactly their symbols mean. You know, is it a spot weld, is it a plug weld, is it a seam weld, what type of weld
And
am I
how many
making on
welds are
here?
there?
How many welds are there? They've done a great job with that. Caution, check new panel before removing the existing panel. The part supply unit can be changed without prior notice according to engineering change. That's an interesting caution.
That's
in
where you
that
cut it
location.
and you're missing 2 inches.
Yeah.
Well, who was it? Was it a Jeep? That the quarter would come in and it didn't really quite match
Right.
up with
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Well, that's because they take a uniside and they just hacksaw it and throw it in separate
Yeah, I
boxes.
think it was some Toyota vehicles. It
Toyota?
was, they just
Okay.
kind of, there was no, sometimes
Yeah.
you got
If you
a
didn't
little
pull
bit
the
too-
part out first and go,
Yeah,
you were, yeah.
yeah. Sometimes a
This,
little too long,
Legend.
sometimes. Yep.
This Legend here key that they're showing seems very similar to Toyota. So the one thing I'd say to people right off the bat is don't assume because they're so similar it's written exactly the same with this outer, middle, and inner.
Yep.
And the triangle or a circle. So read both before doing it because, I work on Toyotas all the time. Oh, this is the same thing as Toyota. It might look similar. It might be different. I haven't sat down and compared both of them together to tell you which one's which. But make sure you do read it because it looks very similar to what Toyota gives you on theirs with this outer, middle, inner.
Yeah, so I said I love the symbols, even hidden welding points. So where there's some hidden welding points in there.
Riveting
there's
point, little
rivets.
triangles, okay.
I haven't seen a whole lot of those, but if there's a rivet in there, and then from an installation standpoint, where do we want it spot welded? Probably not with that spot welder, but where they want it spot welded. Plug welds, butt joint, lap welds. So and then epoxy adhesive. So where they want the adhesive put down. And then
Riveting.
again, riveting if there's any riveting requirements for it. So a lot of good content, and then they really get into even like drill bits and how to remove, and it just
You can't say you didn't.
what they did.
You didn't know.
right.
Just for reference, Larry, I want
Right.
you to notice that there was no laser welding on that hole.
There was no laser weld.
No
Definitely
You
laser
can't
no
say it without.
Okay, no
There you
laser
go.
weld.
Okay.
Yeah.
spot
What I'm just a
welding.
loudmouth from Brooklyn.
He was a little more graphic in his
Here's-
language than that, but
Here's our 30% increase again. So again,
Had
they're
him calm, Mark.
reiterating that. And then we talk about the edge. So I mentioned edge. So they got the recommendation for the edge. So again, they don't want the
good,
spot.
not good.
No good.
They
No
don't-
good.
Well,
They
so
don't want
the
spot
edge
weld.
issue
But that's
is
great.
you don't want the weld off of there because it's going to be weaker. The biggest issue with the pitch, I think, is a bigger problem because if you put the welds too close together, what happens is the electrical current goes back through the last
Yep.
weld or shunts through it, and what happens is that you progressively get weaker and weaker welds
Right.
as you go along, and sometimes the tech may not realize this.
Right.
So engineers have calculated this at the build of the vehicle, and no electrical current, and do all the mathematical figures. So this is why they're spaced out the way
Yep.
they are. So you put next to the original one and go on from there. But if you put them too close together, one, you make the panel stronger. Two, they're also becoming weaker because you have too many welds that are too close, and they just get weaker.
Because a resistance spot weld is made with resistance,
Yes.
and if that resistance goes through the shunt, then I've got less resistance and a weaker
Yes.
weld. So just we should have covered that yesterday, but we'll cover it today instead. So.
We add little things here and there. Make them go back and watch the other program.
Yep. Now they've even got. I like this too. Again, we talk about fit up, right? And I don't see a lot of OEs with fit up recommendations. Here they're telling us no more than 1 millimeter a gap in our fit up. So that's kind of a novel piece, I
don't
think.
see that with
Sometimes
very
you'll
often.
see, well, what you will see is they won't tell you maximum setup, they'll just give you something stupid like 1T. And generally 1T means one thickness.
Right.
So and that's unfortunate that they don't always give you, they assume you know all the welding terminology
Right.
stuff. So there's a lot of assumptions here sometimes,
Yep.
and sometimes it's it's an issue with translation. Because somebody who's translating is not a collision repair person, so it literally translates to that. Instead of going 1T, parentheses, thickness of the material, which would save us a lot of heartache. But they don't do that because they're not collision people. They just copy and, translate.
Hey, Larry,
Yes.
Hyundai is supporting that you need to measure the car. Before you remove the panel, you got to measure it.
Oh, okay. Well, this is becoming more and more of a
You should
thing.
talk about this sometime. Maybe your show or
I've
something
been
like that.
thinking about maybe this is a topic you should add to your,
Yeah.
Maybe make a video on
You
it,
should
like
make a
Blaine
video.
said. Make a video, make it available to people.
Yeah, but then Robert said nobody would be that generous.
Yeah, nobody would have to generous. Make a
just
free
rule
one.
of thumb, if you're cutting, just add this if you're an estimator. If you believe a part is going to have to be replaced, there should also be measurement, set up and measuring time on the estimate.
Yes.
Period. It's not even, it's just not even really debatable.
No.
But I see so many cars, one of which we've post-repair inspected, or we were supposed to get this week, but it didn't show up, so I'm assuming the insurer took care of it. Replace a quarter, replace the tail lamp pocket, zero setup and measure. And the shop's excuse, well, it didn't need it.
Yep.
We were replacing the quarter panel.
What do you base that? I mean, you really need to pre-measure every vehicle that's out there, and you really need to look at it. And yes, some OEMs are having, besides the European, now we're seeing some Asians that tell you to pre-measure the cars. Then you can decide if you're putting it on the bench now. With an SUV, generally you should put it on the bench because most of those electronic systems are set up with the truck on the bench. You may not have to fully set it up and lock it down, just put it at least up in the clamps so it's hanging properly, and that'll give you a much better reading on it. But you have to measure the car. This is and Jake and I have talked about this. It's more important than the pre-scan, okay? Because if you don't do everything and you do the last scan, at least you know all the stuff. You can't differentiate between what you caused or what was part of the accident. But measuring, once you're done painting, like we talked about, send it for the wheel alignment, and he says the strut towers are 2 out of whack. It's like, well, I didn't think that damage to the front was hard enough.
I didn't think,
and now what do you do?
You are correct.
Three most dangerous words in collision repair, I didn't think.
And now it's all painted and stuff. What do I do? Put a perfectly painted car back on the bench and pull it again?
Yeah.
To make it work?
No, well, that's or you start drilling holes.
Drill
that are
holes,
wrong,
machine
and
make
now
hole
your SAI
bigger.
screwed up and your scrub radius, and just keep.
I will say those are my
problems.
3 favorite words in a deposition. When the other side goes, well, I didn't think. It's like,
Yeah.
Really?
that makes you excited.
Well, usually, I didn't think that would happen, goes along with, well, they wouldn't pay for it. And that's another major, major issue.
No, I think sometimes it's legitimately. We are a legacy learning industry, and we've been on this same slide for so long now. I mean, you're on the forums. There are people that argue all day long that are really passionate about doing things the wrong way. So.
And you notice here, look, they're even showing you.
Yeah.
They're showing you a photo of a hook type clamp that's going around with the tower around the B pillar, and they got a big X going through it, and it's saying here, damaged ultra high strength steel panel
Don't pull
should
it.
not be repaired by pulling.
Yeah.
Any damage.
So there you
That's-
go.
You know,
So
they're just telling you right here.
Matt,
plain and simple.
Matt posted he's having this exact same conversation, but it's on a Honda, not on this. But Matt, taking this picture and share it with the insurer and go, this is why you can't.
Well,
pull these fillers.
listen, Matt, I believe Honda has the same picture or a
don't know.
similar picture in them because they have that high tension sheet steel
Yeah.
on the inside and the ultra high strength steel. So
Let's just go. If it's 600 MPa or higher, don't
touch
straighten
it.
it.
Don't
guys,
touch it. Just
590.
don't do it.
Look,
590,
even
okay,
590,
590.
let's say, because
Now-
some guys go, oh, it's 590. Okay, you're off 10 megapascal. You want to do the math? You know.
There was one OE recommendation or one allowance from an OE for like 780 on the front of the Cadillac ATS, I think,
Yeah.
when they first came out.
On a case by case.
On a
if
case
they
by
allow
case,
it.
if they allow it is one thing, but I mean, like, I don't even know how you would straighten the 780. If it's damaged, it's going to be kinked, and it's going to be replaced anyways. Now they had some allowance on there for whatever reason, but it had to be cold straightened. So again, I don't know how you cold straighten 780 cold anyways, but nonetheless, here's a statement. This just says, don't do it. So end of story, end of discussion.
No.
Same thing. A damaged ultra high strength steel should not be partially replaced at random. I like that. a
At
lot.
random.
I read them.
So again, no sectioning unless there's a procedure.
But Jason, if I section it where it says it wants to, then I got to get into the roof, and then I got to get into all this. I actually would have to take the airbags out.
I know.
There's so much I'd have to do.
And it's just a recommendation.
It's just a recommendation.
You know, it's kudos to Hyundai and whoever wrote this.
Yeah.
At least, you know, somebody
Good
has
stuff.
some sort of collision idea in there and going, yeah, okay, at random. You just can't pick a
I'm
spot.
just going to let the airbag hang there.
And the cool
then-
thing is they actually wrote that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So a lot of good kind of. I mean, we're not even into the repair procedure itself, and we're 40 minutes in the show.
Yeah.
And I just think about it again from a repair planning, estimating standpoint. I haven't even started replacing a panel yet, and I've got a ton of information that I need to know and think about and include
And,
in
we're,
my
and
repair
we're
plan.
Which again
really
is-
glazing over. We're not
We
sitting
are.
here. This is why
Yeah.
it
I mean,
takes so
if you
long.
think we're going to be here, then we're going to go to the procedures, then we're going to get down at the bottom, and we're going to have to cover body sealing and corrosion protection. There's so many different places I have to go, and this is why I know that there are specials on a lot of included repair procedures, and we'll serve them up for you, and this will be easy. And the problem with easy is it usually ends up being wrong. Not necessarily. Sometimes I work with some of these systems that had you spent 3 hours, you probably actually could have found
know
all
what
the
you're looking for,
information
you can find it.
you needed. But that doesn't mean the estimator does it. So as soon as you give that estimator some sort of crutch on their system, you're going to end up with, well, they only pulled the procedure for the quarter, and I'm still going to find fault for that repair. It's still going to fail the audit. You're still going to buy a car probably as a total loss that you shouldn't have. It was real simple to do this.
And this is why it's, you know, you'll see on, like, in the C20 group of my estimating course, and or if we do a class on something that I say, it's, you know, whatever the small fee is, $20, $25, whatever it is, and then it's 3, 4, 5 hours of reading information. I don't tell you to print this out. You might want to print the PDF, save it in, you know, in the electronic file, because you're going to kill a lot of trees and a lot of ink. But the fact is that it does take time to research, and you got to take some notes on this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so that you can put notes in these estimates.
So Robert Wagner wants to know, at what year of experience are you then allowed to make random decisions? Is
30.
it 20 or 30?
No, it's 30.
Okay, it's 30.
No, well,
Okay.
we had 24 yesterday, which was an oddball pitch that we had in one particular
But you can't
thing.
make this decision until
No,
30.
it's 30. You got to be
It's
30.
the cutoff.
Yeah, and you
That's
have to be
30.
Facebook certified as an engineer.
Yeah.
And you have to have 2 or 3 hours of time study on YouTube, too.
Yes.
Absolutely. Interesting note here, do not spot weld where it's thicker than 3 millimeters. Now, it's kind of buried in here. It's a notice, not a caution. I'm not sure what the difference is between notice and caution, but that's
Same thing.
Same thing, right?
Yeah. It basically,
but don't
read it as do not do.
Yeah, don't do
Yeah.
it. So 3 millimeters, pretty thin. So again, we want to make
it's
sure we're
it's
following
not a
the
ton of
procedures.
material.
So,
3 layers usually, most
again, you can see they're calling for a lot of epoxy adhesive when we're doing these repairs on here. So.
Use a mobilus.
All right, so more. I mean, again, just look at all the just welding information after welding information, cutting,
And
grinding.
it's not in welding, it's in general body.
Yep.
You know, that's another thing we need to
So
look
click
at.
down real quick. Just go to corrosion protection.
At the bottom, way down
He's
here.
on a roll.
I know, I'm just,
You're messing my
You gotta
tree.
get there
You're
eventually.
messing my tree up,
You're messing
man.
his tree up. We didn't even change the. We didn't cut the panel off yet. You already want to do corrosion protection.
We finally got him to read the
corrosion
map.
protection.
All right, where do you want to go on corrosion
We'll just
protection?
go into cavity wax.
Cavity wax?
Cavity wax injection. So this is, you know, when we did the Kia show, they had 9 places that you had to do wax injection, and they wanted 2 coats So stay with the hood at the top.
Okay.
So they've actually got wax injection holes, and in this case, they have 11 of them that require 11 injections of wax and 2 coats. So when people go, well, you know, I don't have to put cavity wax on a brand new part. This is really specific, and Kia had that too. So
Similar companies.
yeah,
I like this.
I know.
That's
Now you can go wherever you want. I
Hey,
just thought that was
so I'm
kinda
going to
cool.
keep saying it. If you want to know whether a shop, so I get asked a lot of times when we're coming out to do an audit, and I want to know what I'm going to find. I get the shop to give me permission to talk to their jobber. I ask their jobber for their order history, right? And then I know how many techs they have. Every tech should be using at least a can a week
Of cavity wax.
of cavity wax. I put it as a poster on your wall. Our goal, it's been 36 weeks since we last, the last time we didn't use a can a week or whatever.
pass them out in Monday morning's meeting, right? Here's
Right.
your
Here's your
cavity.
can.
You get cavity wax. You get cavity wax.
Right.
Everyone gets cavity wax.
And if you're not using at least a can a week, you're not doing
This.
repairs right.
Yeah, we have an issue.
Here's the underbuy, same thing. Wax injection hole. I mean,
specific. And a lot of other OEMs, what they do is they say, oh, you got to get wax in there, but they don't tell you how. They actually put holes in the car for it. Here.
I love this. This
Yeah.
is awesome. This is great content. All right.
I mean,
Now-
I know somebody's already made the comment, but we waited a long time to get the Hyundai procedures, and it was worth it. They did a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah,
That's
this is
what-
good stuff.
And that's the thing I've always stressed to them when I've met with them in the past. Like, you guys have great content. The information, everything we need is in there. Just let us have it. You
Yeah,
know.
give it to us.
So.
Give me.
All right.
Yeah, but there was
so
some lawyer that told him.
Back, he wants to go
yeah.
back on his tree.
yeah, let's go back to my
Back
tree.
to the tree.
All right. So now, when we get into the procedures, there's 2 different areas. There's a body repair section. I'm gonna look at the quarter panel here on our Santa Fe. There's a body repair and then the repair procedures. These are a little bit different. So they look similar, but there's some differences here. The body repair tells us again where all those spot welds are, where I'm making my cuts, what I'm going to install it with. They give me my spot weld, my plug weld, all those different locations that I need to actually do the repair. So again, so I can prepare myself, kind of mentally about where I'm going to be putting the spot welds, where I'm going to put the plug welds, where am I putting epoxy adhesive, kind of maps out that repair for us. And then we get into the repair procedures. That's where we get our step-by-step. Do this, make the cut here, drill the spot welds out, make your cut 130 millimeters below this reference hole. So these are where I get my dimensions for actually making my cuts.
One thing to mention here, go back up to the top where it says,
Yep.
okay, here's my process, right? It starts as though you have already done all of the other things that you need to do to get to the point to take the quarter panel off. So some procedures start with, remove interior trim, drop out the tail panel, do the tail light, take the bumper cover off. You're going to have to go pull all of those procedures individually to figure out what the process is for those, and then you're going to have to look at all of those interior trim pieces to find out reusable or non-reusable one-time use trim. So if I'm just serving up the quarter panel procedure, we're not even close
not enough.
to the
Not even
research
close.
that
Yeah,
was
no.
be needed to complete the estimate.
Yeah, there's a few not included operations here, right? So again, it's very detailed, gives us the information, removal, installation.
Well, and one thing to notice on this is they're not showing you the weld count. On the previous one, they're saying take out 8, put 8 in.
Yep.
Here, they're showing you here, so you really need to use both documents.
Absolutely, yeah. And as you mentioned, a number of other ones as well. Even they're showing us where to put the schmutz again.
And it indications here, and I didn't read every single line, but indications are that this is an open butt joint.
Yep.
That you'll be making on the sail
It
panel.
actually did say it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as you scroll in and see it.
Yep.
So I mean, look, they even have a tool here for flange welding,
flange.
flange rolling and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
might make it easier, which goes off the rear axle hub area.
It's actually-
Another rolled hem flange.
That actually shows up in the body modification tools tab at the bottom of the tree. You don't have to go there now, but I'm just saying.
So somebody went ahead and went through some stuff,
Yeah.
even though they said,
Mark.
I'll paraphrase, they said, oh no, we'll just go off the hip and let Jason run it, we'll
Mark.
add as we go.
Mark is he's that
Mark
student.
cheated.
No, he's that student. He was always the guy that read the book
I'm a
ahead.
freaking geek.
Like he got the teacher syllabus in the summer and
Oh,
read
yeah.
every book already,
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh.
Now I want.
Told professors they missed a few things.
Yeah.
Now I want to take just a quick second here to kind of leave Hyundai service information
Yeah.
and talk about all data because
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that all data has Hyundai information as well. And we still get questions for whatever reason, like, well, I pulled the all data procedures, but I want the Hyundai procedure. Like, well, it's the same stuff. So I pulled up the quarter panel on this particular vehicle. I just want to show the differences between what all data has and what Hyundai has.
I saw somebody the other day posted, it's all data, it's not the real OE. It's the same thing.
It's-
Oh, look, it's the same
It's
thing.
the same thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I just want to kind of point that out. I thought since I had the procedure pulled up and I was looking up a Hyundai in all data the other day, I thought that'd be a good time to kind of bring that up in references. So again, if you got an all data subscription, go in there. They've got the Hyundai information as well. So all right, now back to the show.
Back to the show.
All right. So we kind of went through a quarter panel. So all these, and these are very similar, right? So as far as like the body repair procedure, body procedures, side panel assembly, body repair procedures, repair procedures. Let's take a look at the side aperture now, because now here's where we get into that sectioning, right? So again, from a serviceability standpoint, I don't know exactly if it's coming as a complete uniside. I don't know personally, but again, we're seeing where they want those sectioning
6
with
out,
that
6
overlap.
in. Where's the spacing?
Yeah,
See, the spacing's a little, it's not symmetrical.
2 on the bottom.
Yep, but look at the top.
Yeah.
They're not consistent.
Yeah.
That's where you put them back in, though.
Yep. So good stuff from Hyundai. Where all the locations are. So just it's a they got everything you need here, right?
Yeah, it's
stuff.
very good.
Okay. So anything else in the collision repair area before we jump into we're going to talk a little bit about ADAS and Hyundai ADAS, just kind of where to find that. So anything else in the body repair that you want to take a look at?
No, well, I could stay all day on this, but
What's
no,
up,
I'm good.
before I go,
You have a
that's why-
plane to catch.
I know,
before
okay.
before I leave the tree,
Before I leave the tree.
before I leave my tree, is there anything else
There's
you
no
want?
coming back here, Clark.
Okay, okay.
Well, there's body sealing locations.
Yeah.
So again, let's go through that real quick. Just again, another very thorough
Yeah.
site, very similar to what we looked at with the cavity wax as well.
As an estimator, I have to look at that stuff because I got to do some projections. I got to think based on my repair plan, how many cans or tubes of X will be needed, how many applications will be required, which is going to tell me how much time to put on the estimate for those things because they're not included. Even for some OE, for some estimating systems, it'll say like one application is included, like say seam sealer, one application of seam sealer is included. But then I'm actually going to have to recreate beads and thickness and all that. So I need to, this is all the stuff I need to write the estimate.
Yep.
Because my job as the CFO is to make money.
Yeah. There's your quarter panel outer head employment.
Yeah, I figured I better bring it
Yeah.
up. I can't. I couldn't.
I told you it
couldn't
was
jump
there.
away from. Yeah. So there it is, the quarter panel hemming tool. It's cool. So
Like
and
they
again,
wrote
just my choice.
ass saw, cut a panel. Really?
I like that there's an air chisel in there. Let me sing you. Remember that meme? Let me sing you the song of my people.
Best could fire somebody for that.
All right. So now to get to the mechanical stuff and the ADAS stuff, I'm going to go to shop. This doesn't mean like, hey, let's go to Amazon shop.
So
This
I can pick up a Hyundai shirt?
This is the shop. Yeah. This is the
want a
shop
coffee cup.
manual. And we're going to find a lot of this is going to be, and we'll pull up this 2.4 GDI here. And as we go down the list here, we're going to go to body electrical system. We got a tree again.
And one of the things about this is that if you're not familiar with the Hyundai website, which a lot of people aren't, there's nothing wrong with buying a subscription, even if you don't have a Hyundai in your shop.
Yeah.
And just spend, well, for me it was like 2 days, but spend a few hours looking through, click all the buttons and all that. So the next time a Hyundai comes in, you really know where it is and how to find it.
What, I'm supposed to practice?
Yeah, you got to practice.
And
You know,
read?
you'd be amazed at things you find. And
Yeah, it's like,
so
whoa!
one thing that I've been really enjoying with the Pickatech and the Technician 20 group is we get a lot of Pickatech inquiries. And the Collision Hub family, they do a lot of research, right? They do a lot of thorough research.
They're your above average shops.
They are definitely
Yep.
above your average shop. And they have questions. So if they've got a question, chances are others have a question. So we start diving in. We start finding all these little tidbits, all this little information. And I'm like, hey, Mark, Larry, did you know this? Did you know that? Kristen, did you know that? And I really enjoy doing that. And then what we do is we take those Pickatech inquiries and all the stuff that we learn going in and finding it, and then we open up our Technician 20 groups each month with, hey, like here's the 3 to 10 different things that we found that, you know what, you might, and some of the technicians might know, but a lot of it they don't, because just like me, who's in the OEM information every single day, I never saw it before. Right. So unless they had a vehicle that they ran into, they wouldn't have run across it either. But now we share that with the entire Technician 20 group, and now all of them know, like, hey, you know what? I think I remember something about this particular vehicle in our Technician 20 group meeting last month. Let me go back and watch the video, because you get access to all the videos. We record them and post them in a private area just for the Technician 20 group, or the Estimating 20 group, or Leadership 20 group. And I can go back and review that, and now I know, and I can again build that in my repair plan. So that's one thing I've really been enjoying about the Pick-a-Tech C20 technician kind of relationship there. So I'm not sure where I was going with that, but here we are.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
We
it's
were
all good.
following
No, I
along.
know.
Okay.
All right, so I want to pull up the front view camera. So components and components location. So again, it'll tell me where all the enable systems are. So how do I identify if the vehicle's got it? Well, here's an enable switch for the front view camera. I can look in the mirror area for it. So it tells us again where all these different the camera is, where the cluster is, where the lane keep assist on/off switch is. The description and operation is a little bit more. A little bit higher level again from where the CAN system is and everything's put together with that. But we've got our initials or our abbreviations here. So when I'm going through the manual, I know exactly what systems they are here, and then what those functions are of it. So what does that camera do? Well, it's responsible for the lane keep assist, high beam assist, forward collision assist, and driver attention warning. So all of those systems are impacted by that one
Somewhat
camera.
important.
Yeah, somewhat important. And then how they operate. So this part right here, and we've talked about this again too, this is something that I think again gets overlooked and is vital in that post-repair inspection, my quality control process. If I'm driving this vehicle and I'm not above, where did I see it, 40 miles per hour, I think I saw a 25 area,
2.2, yeah.
operates when, there it is. It operates with the lane keep assist is set and over 40 miles per hour. So if I'm driving the vehicle at 35 and I'm going like, hey, the lane keep assist system isn't working, it's not designed to work then.
Right.
So these are all the factors that need to be met in order for that system to operate. If I don't know what those factors are, it's impossible for me to verify during my road test or my test drive or my post-repair inspection
If
or
one of
whatever
the
you want
shop's
to call
doing
it.
it,
Right.
there's that. But then too, yeah, it's not just a quick trip around the block
Right.
to check
And that's
for
going back
wind
to what
noise.
Nick said.
Yeah.
Of every time you approach a car, you have to approach it like I know nothing. So you look this stuff up.
I just think this is a great tool for, again, so I know what I'm dealing with. High beam assist, again, got to be over 25 miles. So it tells us what I need to know, and as I'm going out there, I can make sure that I'm meeting all that criteria, documenting that I did indeed was going 40 miles per hour. It wasn't snowing. I tested the high beam assist at night, things like that.
Why, not during the day?
And then I think about Larry, where would I do this in Brooklyn? Where am I going to do this?
You can run 40 miles per hour, probably like between 3:05 a.m. and 3:15 a.m.
So there you go.
On alternating Thursdays when they're not doing road work and
So
on
when
a
it
road
comes
where
time-
they just did the pothole repair run.
They have to save up all their test drives and then call in a bomb threat. So one area of town is shut down.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Well, I'm
I
thinking.
mean, if they had actually a stop and go
Call me
process
problem
that you had to
solver.
do,
That's
New
what
York's
I
the
do.
perfect place to do it.
And by me, we can do this from May until November, and then that's pretty much after that. The snow starts flying.
Oh, you need traction? Oh, I'm out. Yeah. No.
And then the repair procedure. So again, this includes all the removal installation information, things I'm going to be looking for in my scan tool. Again, a wealth of information as we get into it. And then, what do I need to calibrate? And when do I need to calibrate? So I need to calibrate this camera if the front view camera is removed and mounted. If I replace the front view camera with a new one, windshield glass gets changed, the front view camera coupler of the windshield gets deformed. So those are my keys for, okay, I need to calibrate this. And then we start getting into exactly the targets that I will need to perform this calibration. And then we're going to start getting into our heavy duty.
This is where that product ADAS Think actually helps when you're working with the systems.
Sure.
Right. It's just we said Monday, there's so much more involved with estimating and repair planning than just what's physically wrong with the car. There's just all these other avenues. There's more than 3 or 4 different places I got to go to even get the information I need to get started.
There's different manuals you have to read and go through different systems to be able to figure out what we're actually doing with this vehicle.
And that's the scary thing is that we feel there's all this computer knowledge and there's all this stuff out there, and so these things should just be easy. And because everything is so changing, and because each collision is so different, it's almost impossible to just automate that. There's just not going to be an easy button, and you're going to have to do the work. And we can all sit around and complain that we wish it was easier and that somebody ought to do something about it, but you still have cars in your shop today, so that means read is what it means. Read.
Yeah, we're not going to get there to the point
Yeah.
where everybody knows everything about everything.
So here's a couple of non-include operation, I think. Check the vehicle tow in and tire pressure levels to ensure proper alignment of the camera. Windscreen must be clean, and I don't even know what that word is. Check so that there is no back blockage of the camera. Serigraphy.
We'll ask about that one later this afternoon.
So we got paraphrasing thesaurus and being chased by a serigraphy, I think. Another one of those dinosaurs.
Isn't it like one of them?
Don't hurt yourself.
The pterodactyls, them flying things.
I'm from Oregon, so that's serigraphy.
Serigraphy?
Yeah, that's what I would call it.
All right, so again, a lot of information there in the ADAS. And again, all these different systems that the ADAS systems available on the Hyundai vehicles are all they've got similar stuff, so we don't need to go through each one of them. So, yeah. And then what is this?
Notice.
We don't have time to read all that.
Or as Dirk would say, Achtung.
Achtung. Oh, I said it wrong. There you go.
So this short list are when the lane keep
you
assist
should
might
like
not
that.
work.
It's German. You love your German cars. European.
So bad.
You know what? I haven't read through this, but I'm going to read through this because there's probably some good entertaining stuff in here at some point. So
brightness outside changes suddenly, such as exiting a tunnel. Well, yeah, that's.
The windshield is fogged by humid air in the vehicle.
Means you can't talk when people drive.
high beam systems say something about that. It may not work during the day. I wonder if that's in there. Anyways, okay. So I mean, that's a lot of stuff. That's a ton of content.
That's a ton.
I really like your idea of, even if you own a Hyundai vehicle, and maybe that's the time to do it, right, Mark? Is like if I don't have a vehicle, maybe that's sort of the time for me to do my research.
So you know when you get it. Otherwise, you're going to go, oh man, when I'm going to find time to spend to get through this. It's going to take you hours just to really understand kind of what's in there.
I'll take you. I mean, it's going to be multiple estimates on this manufacturer before you're comfortable with it. One of the things I love about the all data system is that it puts the information in a repeatable format for me, right? And then they do a lot with research capability. So some of our OEs, that search box is functional, and some of our OEs, that search box isn't really functional at all.
Right.
And I think Honda gave us a great cheat sheet for how to type things in the search box, for what we're looking for. And iCar has done a lot on the RTS portal to tell us here's what this OE calls these things. So that helps me research a lot of stuff. But the all data search thing, I can just type in lane keep, right? I don't even have to type in the whole lane keep assist or whatever, just lane keep. And it's going to show me what's in the body side of the manual. And then I can also go search the service side or the mechanical side of the manual, which I have zero knowledge about. So navigating that is very hard for me. And sometimes in collision repair, we have to marry the two systems. The body side gives me a lot, but I still find stuff over in the service manual that, I missed. So
and oftentimes when you're in the actual OE website, you might type in something, but they might call it something different. Right. So even your key term, it's never going to pull it up, even though they call the hood the bonnet or whatever.
All right, well, I'm in trouble there. So, I think that's a great point. That what?
Yeah, go to all data and just type in
what the marketing team calls it differs from the service publication team all the time.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of times that the owner's manual doesn't matter. Yeah, just type weld. And so I have 28 total documents that have that term in them, and I can hit that navigation and go up and down.
Yep.
I could type in headlamp, and it will tell me anything I need to know about. I'm running at 500 miles an hour at 50,000 feet like everybody else is, and so if you happen to be the unlucky person that sends in a Pick-a-Tech question when it's my turn to be online, right? Let's say Jason and Larry are somewhere. Service fluctuates based on who's on the other end of the phone, right? But I use this all the time because I've got to try to find the answer quickly, and then obviously if I still scratch out, I've got my
remember
phone
all that
a friend
information and
library
all
request.
data is coming from.
It's coming from the OE. It's just they have sort of like a PDF reader thing that lays over the top of it that makes it really searchable friendly, and the OEs are searchable, so like I said, some more than others, and sometimes you have to be very specific with what you type in, which is why Honda gave us that great cheat sheet. But
an important thing too, on either in this case an all data or the OEM website, is typing in battery and then look for the installation and removal of the battery, because a lot of times the disconnect and reconnect of the battery, they'll give you a little talking for, for the cable, but the bigger issue is
procedures.
If you take the battery out and you change the battery, well, what happens is that sometimes you offset a whole bunch of other computer components.
Right.
Well, here's our tightening and stuff like that. And then sometimes there's actually a separate box or a separate area that says, oh, once you disconnect the battery or change the battery, now you have an issue where you now have offset these systems and you're going to have to, recalibrate, re-aim, or do something.
Yeah. The key thing is, we talked last World Fair, so the 2020 World Fair, when we were trying to give some tips for how you even start approaching using OE research, either for repair or for inspections or for estimating. It was just think of things in general. If you know something is powered, like research battery disconnect, and then if you're going to unplug something and it's got electrical, hey, that probably ought to do that. Always research steering. That way you know what you have to do with the steering column or whatever. Always research seat belts. Always just type those words in and you'll never go wrong.
Right.
Now he's down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, okay, so.
Well, this is what I was looking for here. After disconnecting and reconnecting the battery negative cable, reset some parts that require reset procedures, refer to body electrical system general information. So again, there are some battery requirements for.
And what I may have to do now is go search reset.
Right. Yep.
Yes. Right. Body electrical general, and that's where you're going to get the rest of this information. That's why it's so important to check
Look,
that.
he's rabbit hole.
I'm going with it. No, click there.
No, I can't spell. See if it's in here in the general information.
He types fast.
Was under which one was
Body
it?
electrical system, general information.
Body electrical system.
Am I missing it?
Up one.
Right here, there it is.
There you go, in the middle, yeah.
Somewhere in here.
Why do we always cover connectors? Oh, look, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Why are you charging us to put balloons over things? Oh, look, there it is.
Testing and repairs, 5-step troubleshooting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Battery
All right.
there we go.
Hey, there we go.
So he said, and now again, you got 4 people up here that are in OE information all the time, and it took us a couple minutes to find it, even, right?
I like I said, I don't care how you get all your OE information. If you're on the OE website, that's awesome. However you get it. All data for me fits my limitations, I guess is a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was made for me.
Yeah. Well, you disconnect the battery and now the window doesn't roll down to get your Big Mac, right?
The only things you have to do is reprogram the whip dial, the panoramic roof, the trip computer, the clock, and the audio. That's it.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Those are all included operations?
Included in what?
No.
No.
We should have Danny on.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Should we submit an inquiry to
I
Danny?
wanted like a little recording of Danny, just like of him going, no.
We'll
that way,
have his picture
we'll just
pop
pop it up. No.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
All right.
Danny, we're going to be contacting you for a mugshot.
All right.
I think that's enough for now.
Yeah, so that's enough for now. We are going to be back. We're going to go live probably a little bit before. So we're scheduled to go live at 1 o'clock. We're probably just going to go live a little bit before. Solera is here. They have joined us. We are going to have a debate on artificial intelligence. Now, it got discussed a little bit at CIC. It always, sometimes when someone stands up and speaks, we're not allowed open mic or feedback or dialogue on it or whatever. So we're going to have a really open discussion about
we
it.
didn't have time to get to your question.
Yeah, we ran out of time. There's still 30 minutes. We're out of time, right? We've got an example to go over that one of the artificial intelligence companies released publicly. So we're going to kind of take a look at it from different perspectives and see how we see that. And then we're also going to take a tour of Captor. So we got a real quick tour of Captor and kind of what they're doing with artificial intelligence as well. No.
What's so funny?
No, so I will take this question in a way. I know why it was written, but it was like, is OE procedures approved by Progressive? Or OE information approved. So technically, please keep in mind, an insurer's job is an indemnification of a loss, whether it is a contractual loss or a tort loss. What we do as repairers, what we are legally liable for under consumer protection laws, et cetera, are 2 different things. So those of us that have health insurance know that we always pay out of pocket, right? The things happen. So it's not a matter of you need this class are to be watched by insurers. I get that a lot, and I agree. I would love for a lot of things to happen that way. But we as repairers on the repair side have to keep in mind we do 2 different jobs.
Yeah.
And what the frustration comes is when we believe we're doing the same job and we should see things the same way. So we can sometimes get to the same conclusion, but we're never going to take the same journey. We do two different things. So, all right.
Okay,
Yeah.
back to AI.
See you back at.
There we go.
I'm gonna. Larry's wearing a helmet. And,
How big of a team are they bringing to debate with you?
I think there was a bus in the
Hey,
parking lot,
look,
wasn't
I'm
there?
going to say this.
Yeah,
There's
man.
a lot of people that, I mean, when you look across the spectrum of companies in this industry, this is a company that has always come front and center with the repairs and been willing to sit across the table and talk
Yeah.
about anything with no restrictions, no whatever. So, when we talk about where's the loyalty, where does my loyalty lie, I lay no bones about where my loyalty lies. So, someone that's willing to at least have a conversation should get credit for that.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Will it be name calling, or just going to have a
I'm
nice
gonna-
conversation?
No, this is a nice conversation, right?
We have
My
enough name calling
feelings.
this week already, right?
Yeah, my feelings on artificial intelligence and where I see it coming and going are based on a largely a claims background,
Yeah.
and my concerns as a claims person.
Right.
And then you guys have a different perspective from the repairer perspective, and they're going to address both our sides, plus tell us what the future holds. And I think there's a lot of ways artificial intelligence could really work for repairs. I don't really think that maybe this is the insurer tool. This could be a repairer tool, and perhaps it's just being embraced on the wrong side of the fence. Maybe we need this, they don't.
Cool.
So we'll see.
My opinion on
We'll have a
that is
conversation
that,
about it.
with the artificial intelligence,
We got to talk about this later. Yeah. Well, we're going to do a show one time, and I'm not going to tell him I'm going to have a foghorn here, and when he starts, I'm just going to be like, then the ambulances will come to
well,
collision.
shut my mic off.
All
Right?
right.
Anytime I say artificial
shut your mic
intelligence,
off. We have a hand signal, and the audio team knows when to turn you off.
I thought the plan was to put him in the other room and say, hey, Larry, we want you to run this show right now. You're going to have a massive audience, and just let him go.
kind of like we
The
did to you
show's-
last night.
The show's not really at one, Jason.
No, we're super high tech here. And as soon as Larry's blood pressure starts going up a little bit, it shuts his mic off automatically.
It's like that Clockwork Orange thing.